Welcome, everyone. This is a follow along light conditioning circuit that allows you to basically go through some ranges of motion for your lower body and your torso. And we're going to start off basically by going into toe up and toe down. So I'm basically pulling the toes up and I'm pushing the ball of the foot into the ground. And what I'm also trying to do is make sure that my hips stay in one spot as I do this rather than rocking my butt back and forth. I'm going to show you how to do this facing the camera as well so that you get an idea of how those feet are moving. And it's not easy to balance when you get all the way to the top. You're just practicing utilizing the feet at the same time. And each one of these movements that we're doing is just to see, okay, are we ready then to do any of the hopping that's going to be coming up next? So overall, my ankles moving in and out instead of just side to side. And I'm balancing on one foot as I'm doing that. So I'm utilizing stability on one side as I'm moving the opposite ankle and I'm going side to side. And again, you can pause this video at any point in time if you ever want to just explore some of these movements. And you can play it again. So this movement is I'm balancing on my left leg and I'm practicing rotating in and rotating out. If this is difficult for you, you can just basically put the opposite foot on the ground as you rotate and then gradually add more and more weight to the foot that is that you're spinning around. So as I pick up the other foot, I'm spinning around that opposite leg. Each one of these movements, again, are building upon each other so that it's progressively going to get a little harder and harder. Now from here, I'm just in a push-up position, and what I'm doing is I'm just analyzing what my feet and my legs and my hips and my arms are all doing as I'm in this position. And from here, what I'm going to do is just move my head side to side. I'm just rotating my head side to side. I'm going to see what happens when I tilt my head side to side and then lift my chin all the way up and all the way down as I'm in this push-up position, because as I do that, I actually feel a lot of these forces throughout my whole body, not just my neck and not just my arms. And just staying in this position is already taxing your whole system in order to just to stay in this position if you're not used to it. You can definitely challenge it in different ways. This is just the easiest way to challenge it first. And if this is too difficult, you can start by just being in this push-up position, elevated or on your knees. From here, I'm going to go into a knee circle or a hip circle by going on all fours. What I'm doing is I'm basically trying to get my heel towards my butt. And as you see, I'm not doing a great job of keeping my heel in towards my butt. I'm trying to keep my knee bent, and I'm spinning my hip into extension and circling it around clockwise and counterclockwise. I do this on both sides for a handful of times. I usually go between 6 and 12 times a side, just feeling how my hips are dealing with going into different circle movements, as well as seeing, okay, now can my torso stay in this position? That's what makes it so challenging, is the idea that you're monitoring everything that's going on. From here, I basically go from that quadruped position, that being hands and knees, to then straightening my legs and then folding back up, feeling how my toes and my ankles are reacting to this and how my shoulders are handling my body weight as I absorb and then straighten and reabsorb. You don't even have to have your knees touch the ground. You can gradually walk back towards the feet as you do this in order to then straighten and then come back down. From here, I'm going to get back up and go into our next movement, which is just really simple toe touches. So I'm going to bring my leg out and touch my foot with the opposite hand. As I do that, you can see how I kind of sit into a partial squat on the other side. And then I also fold at the hip. So I'm doing knee bending and hip bending at the same time as I put some force into that opposite side, because you can feel a little bit of a stretch on the leg that's straight as you're touching the toe. And the whole point of that is I just want some extra force through those tissues to see if, okay, can I do this? And then from here, I'm going to change the angle by, instead of reaching down for it, I'm going to push the other leg back. So I'm trying to drive the other leg back and bend at the hip. And as I'm doing this, I'm fixating what I look at. I'm going to look right past the toe I'm going to touch, and then I'm going to switch it and look right past the toe. I'm going to touch again, an opposite hand towards the opposite foot that touches the ground. And I go through this again until I feel some fatigue, and then we'll switch up the exercise after I build the fatigue through the hamstrings and the legs and the feet. And also sometimes I feel this all the way through the torso. So if you're feeling it in other places, again, make sure that it feels okay, it feels smooth, and that as you're doing it, your body keeps progressing on its ability rather than feeling it's limited. So from here, I'm just going to check out how my knees are bending. And from here, a lot of people call these butt kickers. What I'm doing is I'm just bending my knee. And as I get better at bending my knee with trying to keep my thigh almost equal to my body, I then increase the speed. So what I'm doing is I'm starting slow so that I can feel the back of my legs really squeeze to bend my knee and have my heel and my ankle get closer to my butt. And then what I do is I just march in place, making it faster and faster and faster. What's interesting with this one is that most people will lose the ability to anchor the ankle. So what they'll do is they'll flip the ankle, and that's okay. What I'm trying to do is make sure that those ankles are ready for this, which is just hopping in place. And you can see how I'm on the ball of my foot. I'm not stomping my heels. I'm making sure I'm just popping into the ground. My knees are bending, my hips are absorbing, and I'm basically hopping for around 50 to 100 hops. I go until I feel like my body wants me to stop. So that's why I'm hopping in place. I'm going to relax a little bit to get into this next position, which is just practicing rotations. And as I practice these rotations, I want to make sure that my arms are involved. So I'm basically rotating my upper body all the way in one direction. And I'm going to feel if my hips want to come along for the ride so that my legs and my feet are pushing in the opposite direction that I'm rotating. So if I'm rotating to my right, I can feel my feet trying to push left. And I'm working on that perception. How does this feel as I'm moving side to side? Do my shoulders feel okay? Does my back feel okay? Does my neck feel okay? Do I feel like my motion is getting better? Do I feel like it's getting worse? Do I feel like I'm more free in my motion, or do I feel as though it's congested or inflamed? Or is there a part of my body that doesn't like it? So as I'm going through this, I'm also debriefing myself with what do I want to do next, and how does this all feel compared round one, round two, round three. So if I do multiple rounds of this, or am I only doing one round? So this next piece is basically hopping back and forth. I'm just hopping back and forth with one foot to the other. You can have, I'm doing this a couple different ways. So as I hop back and forth, the other foot can touch the ground, or you can have it where you're just basically trying to keep the other foot from touching. Now, I've had several leg injuries, so this hopping where I'm actually lifting my leg up off the ground, it can be quite challenging. It's almost like a run in place, or if you just hop on one foot. Most people aren't used to hopping on one foot, and all I care about is that I'm just loading one foot more than the other. And as you get better at it, you can then load with better frequency side to side, and you do it until you feel basically like they're starting to get fatigued. And then you switch to the next position, which is raising your leg to the side by balancing on one foot. And you can do this by holding on to something if that helps. Here's a look at it from the side, because when we're doing this side leg lift, some people like to bring the leg forward. I try to make sure that leg is only moving out to the side. And as we're doing this leg lift, eventually we're going to apply this in different ways. So I go until I feel like I'm really grounded through the foot that's on the ground. And from here, that my traveling leg, or the leg that's swinging, goes exactly where I want it to go. If you need balance help, you can hold on to a wall or a door frame, anything that can help you with your balance, and that's totally okay. Now from here, I'm just going to get my upper body involved, and I'm just splitting my arms as one goes forward, the other goes back, and I can feel these forces all the way through my hips and into my feet and into the ground. And as I do these, I try to spread the arms further and further apart and just feel where in my body this is affecting me. Is this something where one side feels pinchy? Does it feel smooth? Does it feel like it wants to go away from my body? Or can I pull my arms straight back and can my shoulders move freely with the arm motion. Because sometimes my arm will go back, but my shoulder won't want to go back, meaning my scapula or my shoulder blade won't want to move as freely as my arm wants to move, which is something that I work at. Now from here, this is a side-to-side hop. And all I'm going to do is I'm trying to get that same ball to foot movement where I'm just popping off the ground, and I'm going to go again until I feel as though I'm fatigued, because the ball of foot is touching the ground, not the heel. And I'm using fatigue as my guide. If you notice, I don't have my mouth open. I'm basically trying to do all this by doing only nasal breathing, and I'm just respecting when I feel as though I'm fatigued. So this next piece is I take that top leg, I put it over the bottom leg, and I'm just raising that bottom leg straight up and down. I'm feeling my groin muscles work. If you want to support your head with that bottom arm, that can be very, very helpful for the neck. I also like to lift my neck up and side bend slightly, so I feel my side benders helping me with this movement. And I go through again until I feel fatigue. So I'm going to lift that up and down. And as we go through this cycle of this routine, this circuit, there will be many circuits that we're going to put together specific movements. This can be done faster, or you can do it with more control or with more reps or with less rest to then accommodate a fatigue level. And you can do this multiple times. So as this is finishing up, you can repeat this entire cycle for more and more work if you feel like you want to work even harder. So from here is the front to back hops. Again, ball the foot. Depending upon how far you feel comfortable hopping forward and hopping back, these two-footed hops just get the body associated with moving a little quicker. And then I go until fatigue. And you can have your arms involved with it if you'd like to. Again, I'm not moving that far. So with all of these put together, make sure that when you're finished with this circuit, this round one, if that's enough, you can stop right here, or you can restart it from the beginning.